Are you currently learning French, developing your reading, your writing, but your speaking, it's not moving where you want it to be, right? Your ideal speaking level, talking level is up there, but you're just, you're not developing how you want it. This video is for you because firstly, we're going to talk about how I developed my speaking to a point where French native speakers think that I'm one as well. They actually think I'm French because my accent is very good, okay? And then two, how you can develop your speaking and then get to, my level in speaking, should you want. So first thing, how did I develop my speaking, my talking skills in French to a level where French native speakers thought that I was French as well? Now, something that I do, and it's all over my channel, okay, with all my videos here on YouTube and Instagram as well, is I talk about immersion, so getting in lots of good input, okay, so reading, listening, doing both at the same time, okay. I talk about YouTube, using subtitles, Netflix subtitles, and then also Assimil, the textbook that I used to learn French in the first few months of my study, and then I transitioned into YouTube and Netflix. Now, the key thing is getting in lots of really strong input, okay, reading, listening, and then we can move to speaking. So speaking, that only happens after, for me, I didn't speak for the first 6 months, to be completely honest. But after I got in lots of input, that was really productive, and where I was able to increase my level, I got to sort of a base beginner level, an intermediate level, then I moved to speaking. So I recommend you do the exact same thing. Now, once we get to that level, okay, that may take you 3 months, may take you 6 months, right? Just depends person to person and how much you study. Now, in terms of speaking, what can you do to improve your speaking, okay, after you've passed that base level with your reading and listening? The thing that I did was I would read out loud, right? But the thing is, right, I would only do that after I knew how the words were pronounced. So I didn't just pick up, a novel like the one I've got here, right? I didn't just pick it up and just went through, reading out loud right away. What I'd do was I would go onto YouTube, turn the subtitles on, and say it was an interview. I didn't mind watching French news or even just a vlog channel, right? Someone who, films their day, talks about a certain subject, even talks about learning French, right? In French. You can pick any subject you want. And I've mentioned before, I like history and geography. So I'd find a video on one of those two subjects. And then I'd have the subtitles on, and it'd be someone speaking to me, okay, with graphics or telling a story. And at certain points in the video, I would just pause and I would talk. I would respond back to them, essentially, right? So if they explain something about, a certain event and how people, how historians viewed it, or, they weighed up, okay, this army succeeded in that battle because of that, but then they'll say, but other historians believe it's actually because of this, then I would pause and I would speak back. I would ask a question, right, in French. It can be anything. It can be, how is that the case? Or why was it like that? Or, going down to the comments as well mid-video and then just seeing what other people write and then coming up with my own response. So it was almost like I was engaging in this, this virtual conversation, right? Like the person making the video speaking to me there, or the person in the comments was talking to me. And then I'm able to fire up my brain and then, get myself on that line of, okay, I'm going to speak, I'm going to engage in conversation, and it doesn't matter if they respond back to me because I can just pretend like they are. Now, it sounds a bit weird, but it does work well, right? If you're watching YouTube videos, okay, and you're watching Netflix or something, you've got subtitles on, just pause and then, respond back as best you can. Now, it doesn't have to be very, complicated or, detailed phrases. It doesn't even have to make sense. But just turning your brain on, so whenever you're listening to something, whenever you're reading something, your brain's sitting there and it's ready to respond. If you build that up over weeks, and then months, eventually, if you're doing that every day, it's going to become really easy because it's almost like oiling up the engine of a car, right? Because it's just going to move so much smoother because you're able to shift gears faster, right? You're able to shift gears more smoothly. It's the same thing with speaking, because lots of us will do our reading and listening and we won't engage our brain to speak. Now that's what they teach us at school as well, right? They'll just say, all right, fill out this exercise, do this writing exercise, do this reading exercise, this listening exercise, and they break it up, right? So they do reading, listening, writing, and then they do speaking. So it's like, no, you do one on one exercise, then you do two on the other, three on the other, four on the other. So then the speaking and the reading are completely separate. But I think it's best when you join them, right? Because if you join them, now that's the full language experience. That's what we do in English every single day. So let's try and copy that. Let's try and emulate that exact same thing in French, right? Because why not? That's how we continue to develop our English, because we're using it every day for all four of those activities. And even now, we don't do much writing, but we do write on on our laptops, on our computers, right, on our phones. We still write in English. So if we stop doing that, it would be harder to write. If we weren't typing anything, if we weren't entering anything at work in certain documents or sending emails or, writing up our homework, right, whatever study we have, we would lose that writing skill. Now, I don't want to lose my reading, listening, writing, or speaking, and both for English and French. So I think we need to do all four of those every single day, okay? Now, in terms of your French study, what does that look like? Well, reading, I recommend you do either reading a textbook like Asimil I mentioned before if you're a beginner, reading that textbook, okay? Or you could simply turn the subtitles on with YouTube. That combines with your listening, number 2. Okay, so listening can be the YouTube or it can be the audio from the textbook. And then 3, in terms of writing, search videos up on YouTube, right? Go into Google and just search something interesting that you saw in a YouTube video you watched or a textbook that you read, right? You're typing stuff there. That's your writing, tick. I'm not really for, writing notes down like this and stuff. I used to sort of do that at the start. I used to do it a lot, but now I don't. And looking back, I think it was a waste of time because I didn't progress with writing a lot, but everyone's different. And if it works for you, go ahead. All right. I'm not going to tell you to, not do something that you enjoy and that you feel is bringing you, good progress. So continue to do that. And the 4th thing with your speaking, let's bring the speaking into any of those. Okay. So if you're reading, let's read out loud. If you're listening, let's listen, pause, and then repeat what we just heard. And thirdly, if you're writing, after you write it, okay, say it out loud, right? Simple as that. Now, how did I do it? Okay, precisely what did I do throughout my 3-year journey up to now? Okay, I was fluent in 1 year, but for my 3 years up to now, what does that look like? Okay, let's focus on the first year. Firstly, so what did I do? Very simple. So I had my textbook, Asimil with Ease. I mentioned it throughout my other videos. Okay, it's a very good textbook. What's the textbook? If you're new to the channel, it's very simple. It's about 100 chapters in the book. It's a French textbook. So on one side, for each of the chapters, you'd have French lines, okay? And then the other side, you had the direct translation to English. Throughout the whole book, it was left page French, right page English, direct translation across. You had audio with the lessons as well. It could be a conversation at a cafe, or it could be a news article. It was very varied, right? You could be at a soccer game, or you could be, listening to someone talking at the radio. Now, in terms of that, I had reading, I had listening. Now, where was the speaking, right? Where was the speaking and writing? In terms of speaking, what I'd do was I would read, listen, okay, going through my French, and then I would take my earphones out, and I would then repeat, I would speak out loud the French. So there are 2 things you can do to try and improve your French speaking, okay? So firstly, starting a conversation with whatever you're listening to, right? Give it a pause and pretend like whoever's speaking to you there or whatever you're listening to is in a conversation with you, and respond to them and talk about different things. Pause the video, unpause the video. I found it works really well. And the second thing is simply reading out loud. So if you have a French book, French text, or you're reading an article on your laptop, on your computer, on your phone, you can simply just read that out loud. And the pronunciation doesn't have to be perfect, but as I mentioned earlier in the video, if you have 3-6 months of really good input, listening phrases, then your speaking, you should notice it'll be pretty good, right? In terms of the accent, because you've already heard how words are pronounced in French and you understand it. So thank you for watching today. Give this a go and let me know if it works.